The Las Vegas Raiders are having a really tough season. With just 2 wins and 11 losses, things look pretty bad right now. Their latest loss to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers shows they're struggling, especially with their quarterback situation. Aiden O'Connell, who showed some promise in a recent game against the Kansas City Chiefs, couldn't repeat that success this time. While he had a few good moments last week, it's becoming clear he might not be the Raiders' long-term solution at quarterback. The game against the Buccaneers was tough. Unlike the Chiefs, who blitzed a lot, Tampa Bay's defense took a different approach. They made O'Connell work harder, forcing him to go through his reading options, which exposed some of his limitations. The most heartbreaking moment came when O'Connell got injured. Kija Kani made a dangerous hit that looked unnecessary, striking O'Connell in the back after he'd already taken several steps. The result was a serious-looking knee injury that required him to be carried off the field on an air cast. It looks like he might have torn his ACL. Despite the tough situation, fans and the team hope O'Connell recovers. He could still potentially be a backup quarterback for the Raiders in the future. The team's performance suggests they'll need to seriously consider drafting a new quarterback. Names like Shedder Sanders, Bo Nix, and Drake May are already being discussed as potential options in the upcoming draft. Right now, the Raiders need a fresh start and a quarterback who can lead the team with more consistency and playmaking ability. Baker Mayfield's performance for the Buccaneers against the Raiders was impressive. Watching a quarterback who can actually do the job right makes you realize what the Raiders are missing. Right now, the Raiders' quarterback situation is tough. Garrett Muska came closest to being a potential solution, but he struggles to play within the team's offensive structure. The ideal quarterback needs two key skills: following the game plan precisely and creating plays when things go wrong. The Raiders currently lack a quarterback who can do both. One bright spot in the game was Sincere McCormick. He really impressed fans and showed he could be a key part of the team's future. McCormick ran for 78 yards on 15 carries, and the offensive line looked solid supporting him. The Raiders need to think about building depth at running back. Top teams usually have multiple strong running backs they can rely on. The Buccaneers are a great example. They had success with different running backs, like Sean Tucker and Rashad White, even when their top player was injured. Looking ahead to the draft, the Raiders should consider picking up another running back in the second round. This year's draft class looks particularly strong for running backs. Experts say players like Jonathan Brooks and Trey Benson would be mid-tier options in this impressive group of talents. McCormick's performance suggests the team has potential, but they'll need to continue building and improving their roster. The goal is to create a more versatile and dynamic offensive lineup that can compete at a higher level. The message is clear. The Raiders need to make smart choices in quarterback and running back selections to turn their season around and build a more competitive team. The Raiders' defense showed some real strength in this game. Despite giving up 295 yards to Baker Mayfield, their defensive strategy was impressive. The secondary, in particular, continues to be a standout unit. The defensive line and secondary made life difficult for the Buccaneers. Players like Clayson Chasen, who grabbed an interception, and Max Crosby continue to play at a high level. What's most impressive is how committed the players remain. Even with a tough 2-11 record, Jack Jones is a perfect example of this commitment. Despite giving up a touchdown, he also made some big plays, including an interception and a pass breakup. The defense is showing real heart and determination. Tight end Michael Mayer had a breakout game, catching 7 passes for 68 yards. As the second-string tight end, he's proving to be a valuable player. Along with other young talents like Brock Bowers, Kobe Myers, and Sincere McCormick, the Raiders have some promising offensive pieces. The team's path forward is clear. They need to focus on 3 key areas. 1. Find a solid quarterback. 2. Add a true number 1 wide receiver. 3. Bring in a dynamic running back. The good news is that the Raiders have a strong foundation. Their defense is playing well, and they have some exciting young offensive players. With the right additions this offseason, they could turn things around quickly. The message is simple. Don't give up on the Raiders. They're building something, and with a few smart moves, they could be a team to watch next season. The defensive players' continued effort and commitment, even in a challenging season, shows the team's potential and fighting spirit. The Raiders have a clear path to improvement this offseason. Their strategy could involve 1. Signing a top wide receiver like T. Higgins or Amari Cooper. 2. Drafting a running back in the second round. 3. Selecting a quarterback in the first round. 4. Potentially adding a physical guard in the third round. This approach could transform their offense. Right now, they're competitive but lacking that final piece, a solid quarterback who can consistently score points. Imagine going from 13 points per game to 32. That's a game changer. Draft positioning is crucial right now. The Raiders are in contention for the number 1 overall pick, which gives them first choice of quarterbacks. The draft order isn't completely locked in yet, as strength of schedule can still change. For the reporter, this has been the most challenging season covering the Raiders in 5 years. The frustration is real, but there's hope. The defense is strong, and with the right offensive additions, this team could quickly turn things around. Key takeaways. The Raiders have potential. They need a quarterback. They have draft capital to make significant improvements. The defense is already performing well. The message is one of cautious optimism. While this season has been tough, the pieces are in place for a significant turnaround. With smart draft picks and free agent signings, the Raiders could be a completely different team next season. The final message is clear. Don't give up on the Raiders. They're building something, and help is on the way.